to obviously Fight Talk, and this is must-see fights in October. We're going to give you a top 5 list of the fights we think are to look at, and then we're going to give some notable mentions. Number 5 on the list, after debating, after some shots thrown, the gloves were put on and me and Rob duked it out. And number 5 is the KSW lightweight type between Matthias Gamrot and Norman Park. Of course, the rematch. Where is it? It's in the 3 Arena in Dublin on the 22nd of October. This is number 5. But Rob, why is this number 5?
I think the first fight was a good fight. There was some controversy in it, and I think that's one of the big reasons why a lot of people are looking forward to this. Norman Park has been pushing for it. If you don't know the story behind the first fight, it was quite a close fight. I believe it was Norman Park's first fight in the promotion, and Gamrot gave him a little bit of a bite on the hand. Now they're fighting back in Ireland. Kind of a surprise that Gamrot took the fight back in Ireland. It should be an interesting storyline going in. You've seen the pre-fight, whatever, media day thing they done in CRC. Yeah. There was a bit of back and forth. Park, I think he slapped Gamrot. So there's a storyline going into this. You know, Park wants to prove that he can beat Gamrot. It was close the first time. Park has a habit getting into close fights sometimes. Yeah. Gamrot is one of the better, I think, one of the better prospects in Europe. So it's a very interesting fight, and it happens on our doorstep, so we're going to be there.
And for me, the reason why this fight stands out is because of the controversy of the first fight, the whole Timmy bit my finger. I'm really excited to see Park in this, because I have not seen Norman Park this fired up for a fight in a long time. So I think it is going to be a highlight fight and a big spectacle. Yeah.
Number 4, Gegard Mousasi versus Alexander Shlemenko. It goes down on Friday the 20th of October at Bellator 185.
The reason for me why this is number 4 is you left out 3 letters in the promotion. It doesn't say UFC, but it says Gegard Mousasi. So this is Gegard's first outing for Bellator. I'm intrigued because at middleweight in the UFC, he looked like he was there or thereabouts. Yeah. And this came as a big surprise. He was he's on a 5-fight win streak. Gegard, he's coming in here, and you know he done the whole let's test the free market and see how it goes.
Free agency.
A lot of people were really surprised that Gegard moved across. And Shlemenko, he's fighting an absolute killer. The whole myth of the best fighters all reside in the UFC, for me, isn't true anymore. And Gegard Mousasi has got his hands full here, and this is what's intriguing about it, is for the casual fan, you're going to see, you know, we're used to almost seeing UFC fighters leave the UFC after a couple of runs of defeats, but Gegard is going in with momentum behind him, and he's fighting under the Bellator flag for the first time.
Yeah, it was a huge signing for Bellator. Like Rory McDonald was definitely a huge signing, and probably maybe for star power, because Gegard, while he's probably as a contender, he's probably in a similar position with McDonald, but you know, maybe not as a star because the UFC didn't push him as much as McDonald. But it's a huge get for Bellator because he's one of the best fighters in the world, and I don't think there's anything wrong with having some of the best fighters in the world on your ranks.
For sure.
It's his debut against Shlemenko, who, if you look at his record, 54 and 9, which is incredible. Gegard Mousasi had a similar kind of route to Shlemenko in a way where he fought a lot outside of the big organizations, or maybe fought in the bigger organizations, but not quite the UFC level.
It's the whole, you know, if you haven't fought in the UFC, man, you're not the best. And I genuinely think that opinion is fading. I still think the best overall do reside in the UFC.
They have the biggest bulk of the best fighters in the world.
But these are two big names going at it, and that's why it's such an intriguing fight. Number 3, you might be surprised how high this up on the list it is, but Donald Cowboy Cerrone is in number 3 when he takes on Darren Till. That goes down at Gdansk in Poland, and that is on the 21st of October. What's the reason for number 3 in this one, Rob?
The reason for number 3 in this one is, first, it should be a very entertaining fight. I think that Darren Till is one of the better prospects in the world, but certainly probably the best prospect coming out of the UK. He has a big following, but you know, there's a bit of a storyline going in here. People saying that Darren Till isn't ready for a Donald Cerrone. Donald Cerrone maybe on a bit of a skid. He's on a bit of a losing streak. There's people like Brendan Schaub going out there. We know all about that, saying that Donald Cerrone shouldn't have taken this fight. So there's that storyline going in. But at the end of the day, these are two guys who mainly like to strike. both are good Muay Thai fighters. Darren Till doesn't really rate Donald Cerrone's Muay Thai. That's another story going into it. How is that going to play out? And then it's a classic story of, can the prospect be the established guy? Yeah. And traditionally, Cerrone beats guys like Darren Till. He beats the prospects.
That is 100%. I agree with that, yeah. But for what intrigues me about this is, obviously we had Darren on in episode 81. You can look back at that if you want. Darren spoke openly, and he got quite a right in a way about what Brendan Schaub was saying. Brendan Schaub has since addressed that. Didn't mention, obviously, Fight Talk. Mentioned MMA Junkie, unfortunately, which was their interview. Damn it. But what I like about this fight is, everybody, if you're a listener of this show, or if you're only joining the show now, I am a big Donald Cowboy fan. I really love Cowboy Cerrone. I've won a lot of money off betting on Cowboy and fights. Yeah. I like his idea. I also his mentality he takes into fights, where it's anyone, anytime. And what I like about Darren Till, he's this up and coming guy. He speaks about, he sees himself in greatness. He actually said, you're talking to a champion now.
Future champion, yeah.
He said, I am a future champion. So it's, for me, it's something that Darren spoke as well. He says, why can't I get these fights? Do I have to stay in the prelims? And it's the established guy against the up and coming guy. Cowboy, 2 fights in the hole at the moment on the wrong side, and Till is undefeated as a mixed martial artist. And it's an intriguing fight in the way that, yes, Donald has all the experience and all the little tricks that could be in the octagon. But Darren Till is young and hungry, and, you know, eventually, as he says, and as even Conor McGregor has pointed out, you know, the old gorilla, the gorilla will get old, and a young gorilla will come up and take him and take everything he has. And this is the opportunity in Darren Till, and that's why I find this fight at number 3 as intriguing.
Number 2.
This was the toss-up.
And you can probably guess. You know, you're thinking October, you're thinking the fights, you're thinking an upcoming card. You have at number 2 the flyweight title fight between Demetrius Johnson trying to break the record against Ray Borg. It happens on the 7th of this month.
So next week.
Can I ask you a question? Why isn't it not number 1?
Why it's not number 1? The reason being is because, for me,
without spoiling number 1.
No, I'm sure people know who it is. But well, without spoiling number 1 is because Demetrius Johnson has been so dominant in his division. Ray Borg, for me, I'm a big Ray Borg fan. I like Ray Borg. But we speak about this regularly on the show, Rob. It's like when you take Joanna. If you win 2 fights in that division, get a bit of a run together, you get Joanna. Yeah. Similar here to DJ. Ray Borg is having good fights, struggles with his weight cuts, has changed nutritionist, but I think this is too early for Borg. But I've said it on previous shows, I think no matter when you get DJ, it's too early. For me, Mighty Mouse is Mighty Mouse is like a piece of art. Like when Van Gogh painted his pieces, nobody thought anything about them. They're priceless now. Yeah. So I think that's going to happen with DJ as well, is that when DJ takes the gloves off and bows them down, everyone will go, Jesus, how good was Demetrius Johnson? But this is a stern test for DJ, but I just think DJ, it's like he has a cheat sheet for all these flyweights. It's like, you know, when you were in school and you had a maths book and the last 20 pages were all the answers? He has all the answers. And, you know, you're only unbeatable until you're beaten in that sense. But I just think the reason why it's number 2 is because Demetrius Johnson will be a heavy favourite coming into this fight, especially with Ray Borg's issues with weight cuts as well. DJ does it every time perfect, and I just think this might go to the latter rounds, but I just think you're going to see another masterclass by Johnson. So the fact that I can predict this fight, I honestly, if you said your month's rent or your month's mortgage, who's winning? Demetrius Johnson. Wouldn't even have to think about it. And that's why, for me, it's number 2.
That's crazy. I agree. I think Demetrius Johnson wins. But there's a chance. Are you saying there's a chance? I think there's a chance, but it's not very likely. The reason why I don't have it at number 1, and I do agree with you putting number 2, is I think the fight hasn't soured, but I think after being pulled from the last card and being moved forward, you had all that kind of stuff. I think the lack of promotion, it feels like it was just picked out. You know, it can't happen here. Let's just throw it on this card, stick it in the co-main event, and let's have it. So that's the reason why I don't have it at number 1. But it's still a great fight, and I do think Ray Borg has a chance. Anytime you can watch Demetrius Johnson fight, it's a 3. I do think if you're going to rank the most significant fights of the month. This is head and shoulders. There's not even competition. This is the most significant fight. This is the most important fight. You know, he's breaking
it's record breaking.
It's a record breaker here. It's a real championship. So it's definitely the most significant, and that's why it's really high on the list. But I think we're going to get a little bit of hate. That's not number one, and you know that's completely warranted.
No, I reckon you will get a bit of hate from it. But the reason why I'm picking it as just number 2 is because I think it's more predictable than what's number 1.
You don't think it's as competitive as number 1?
Yes.
And what's number 1?
You know, no prizes for guessing, folks. Goes down as the UFC interim. I love that word, interim lightweight title between Tony Ferguson and Kevin Lee. When does that go down, Rob? The same night, funny enough. It's at UFC 216 that takes place next Saturday, 7th of October. We've given a little why we thought Demetrius Johnson was number 1 or number 2, but why is Ferguson Lee number 1?
I think at the moment, if you remove the 2 guys who aren't really fighting at the moment, Conor McGregor and Nurmagomedov, I think this is probably the best matchup you can make in that division. I think Kevin Lee, a lot of people will say that maybe he's been rushed to the title. You know, he's beaten some good guys. He hasn't really beaten anybody at the top of the division, but again, who could he fight at the top of the division? You know, there's no one really there aside from Lee, aside from Ferguson.
A lot of them were matched previously.
Exactly.
As well.
Like there's no logical matchup there. You can disagree with the interim title. You know, Conor hasn't defended it. He's went and had a boxing match. You know, I don't really like interim titles in most cases, but I think a lot of people will also say that this is the real title. I do think a lot of people will make that claim.
Kevin Lee has said that.
But I think we're going to find out how good Kevin Lee is. I think we know how good Tony Ferguson is. You know, he had that fight with Lando Venata, probably his only, you know, in recent history, his only kind of tough fight. You know, but you can maybe put that down to the late switch up. I really can't wait for it. You know, I think it's neck and neck with DJ and Borg. You know, it's probably going to be more an entertaining fight, I think, just based on the styles, but it's just an amazing fight. You know, whatever way you put it, it's just an amazing, amazing fight.
God forgive me for saying this, but I actually think this fight warrants the word interim in front of it, because Conor McGregor, who is the reigning lightweight champion, beat Eddie Alvarez for the title, and he's then gone on to fight Floyd Mayweather, and according to his coach, John Kavanagh, probably it looks like Nate Diaz. Originally it was rumoured for late December, so I thought the time frames would work out. These would fight for the interim. Conor would fight Nate. The winner of Conor Nate would take on the winner in the new year. John Kavanagh was quoted then as saying that he'd love Nate on Paddy's Day. So again, with that delay, it makes sense to have an interim, keep the division rolling. Similar to Cowboy, the reason why I like this fight so much is similar to the Cowboy Till fight, is that everyone's sort of saying Kevin Lee is getting this too early. You mentioned the Venata fight with Ferguson, and I think that showed a weakness, not a great weakness, by the way, but just like a crack in the armour of Tony Ferguson. And I just think that Kevin Lee can be the guy that he hits so explosive, and he's well versed on the mat as well. Like, Ferguson is such a weirdo, and I mean that in a really nice way.
Yeah, he does everything different.
Everything, like, no matter what he does, be it pick up weights or whatever he does in the octagon, it's so weird. And I just think it's an amazing clash of styles. Yeah. And it's an intriguing fight. And the reason why I said DJ was number 2 is because if you said the same thing to me, your mortgage or your rent, who wins?
Yeah.
I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
And that's why it warrants me to be number 1. I just think the 2 personalities, I think they're going to be talking absolute shit to one another in the cage. I think the weigh-ins will be great. I just think, in a way, DJ is paying for being so professional, so polished. While I don't think Kevin Lee and Tony Ferguson are polished. They're just 2 madness fighters. And I just think this card, 216, as much as this card is amazing, this is the fight that you could go, holy shit to.
Yeah.
And that's why, for me, Tony Ferguson, Kevin Lee is number 1 on the list.
Yeah, but it wasn't easy coming up with this list because there was some many notable mentions. I'm going to mention a couple, and you can mention a couple.
Yeah,
Tom Duquesnoy versus Cody Stamann, which goes down at UFC 216 as well. Great fight, Tom Duquesnoy. Probably again up there with Darren Till as one of the best prospects coming out of Europe.
Well, and he's training out of Jackson Wink as well. So yeah, very well.
Another one that I'm kind of surprised when you look at it again, that Lando Venata versus Bobby Green at 216. didn't get on the card. 216 is looking like a really good card.
216 is a
Maybe
serious
it's not
card.
the biggest card with the biggest names, but in terms of fights that could be absolute barn burners, 216 looks great. That's another one. Do you have a couple there?
I'll reel it in a little local. We got Paddy Pimblett taking on Vlado Sikic. It's a catchweight bout. Where is that? That's in the Echo Arena in Liverpool. So it's Paddy Pimblett in Liverpool.
Yeah.
Do I need to say any more? KSW announced a featherweight bout, and it's involving Paul Reza Redmond against Lucas Chilwicki. We're going to go with, or Chilwicki. Reza breaking ties from Bama and fighting in KSW. Chris Fields is also fighting on the same card. Notable mention. A big one for me as well, though, Rob, is Bellator as well. Bellator 185 sees King Mo Lawal take on Liam McGeary, which is a great fight in itself. It's,
that's on the 185 card as well. So that's on the same card, isn't it?
Yeah,
same card as the Mousasi debut. Great fight as well.
And then on Bellator 184, you have Eduardo Dantas taking on. Go on.
Darian Caldwell.
Beautiful. Agree, disagree with the order
Comment
we
below,
gave
you
it?
probably disagree.
Like, do you think like 2 should be in 1 or 3 should be in 4? Have a comment, do it. This is something, a new segment that we're going to do each month of the fights to look ahead of. So comment, do everything you want. Don't be afraid to hit subscribe on the link just below. Just a little red thing.
Doesn't hurt.
Just hit subscribe. Last week, 82. We had Godbear, Mark Godbear. We had Mark.
Fights next week.
Yeah, we check it out. Great episode. Franz Malambo was on with us and Jerry McCarthy. Looking ahead to 83, I can promise you we have a packed show as well, so do not miss that. But yeah, comment below. Do you agree with the order? Have we missed a fight? Do you think there's a fight out there that's better that we didn't announce, didn't talk about? Hit it up, comment. We'll always interact. Rob does. But this has been Must Watch Fights for October.
Until next month.